Good morning, students, and Jai. We have to discuss, or we are on the discussion about the regarding the rise of Sufism. We have in our previous classes we have seen how the Sufism emerged uh, out of the Islam. Understand? Out of the theologistic study or the Shara and Sharia, or from the ulema class. Understand? Apart from the orthodox and traditionals and orthodox beliefs of the Islam, and now this new thought and the stream of thought named as Sufism, they now they tried, understand, and they criticized the inclination of the Islam or Islamic people towards the power and towards the power and towards the worldly lives and worldly attraction or the worldly gain. So they now here the two views I have already mentioned, that one the materialistics view, which had been began to be the held by the caliphs, and the one emerged around the Muslim state, the one group of the theologians called as and known as the ulema class. Understand? So these conservatives class, understand, or these theologians were the inclined towards the materialism, understand, and they wanted the interpretations of the Quran, accordingly the Shara and Sharia, to be the implemented, and according to their interpretation and their, and although they were the very close to the state, close to the royal advantages. So, and on the other hand, one group of the Islam, understand, and the one group of the people, they wanted they wanted the to be the uh, they wanted to the wanted adopted the complete and complete as a whole the spirituality in the Islamic thoughts. They now followed the way of the spiritualism, understand, way of the spiritualism, and away from the materialistic attraction. So these people and the group of the people who believed in the in a spiritualism or now, and they followed, they did not attracted, they didn't attract towards the government, towards the materialism. They had they followed a different paths of their beliefs. That paths and the beliefs were completely, understand, away from the worldly attractions, worldly activities, and the government, and the power, and the politics, and the power and politics. And these they followed the way and the way of the asceticism, or as well as mysticism. They followed asceticism, renunciation of this world and the worldly attraction, understand, and believed in the hard penance, understand, or hard penance, or a very a life of fakir, understand, they believe in that, understand, and moreover they emphasized on the love and devotion, love and devotion on that basis. So they believed in the shama, understand, or wanted the and now they also interpreted the Islamic and Quranic injunctions their own individual, through their own individual experiences, and own individual experience, through that they now explained or interpreted or believe in the Allah. Understand? And they now they summoned the people that now to get at the and reach the close to the Allah, there is only one way: the devotions to the Allah, love to the Allah. Understand? Love and devotions, and the by song, by the music, dance, song, qawwals, shamal. These are the instrument, and these are the elements by which one can get at the one can get or reach at the highest point of ecstasy. Means the highest point of the ecstasy, that is the feeling to be the very close to the Allah. That point, to achieve that point, now they used the kawal sama, and try to create the shama among the believers. Understand? So now students, we have a study about that, and moreover I have already mentioned that how in the Byzantine Empire, the most of the part of the Byzantine Empire, eastern part of the Byzantine Empire, had been captured by the Arabs, understand, and by the Muslims. We know very well that, or the Byzantine Empire, that was the eastern empire of the great Roman Empire. Understand? Eastern part of the great Roman Empire, with its capital at Constantinople. Understand? Now we know very well. I have taught in the chapter 3. Understand? The chapter 3, Roman Empire, I have already taught this. Here we are going to see that Sasanian. So this the Sasanian empires was belonging to the Iranian or the Persians. Persian had the vast expansion in the eastern and in the Central Asia. We can say the around the Central Asia. The Persians had the vast empire, or they were slowly and these cultures. Once the Sasanian culture, Byzantine Empire, Byzantine's culture were flourishing once, but now it began to die down or the withering away. Started the withering away. So as a result of that, slowly dying out, and in the schools of Alexandria, already we know that in the schools of Alexandria, if you have the map, we are sitting with the map, you can see that Alexandria, point Alexandria. So Alexandria and the Syria, you can see Syria and the Mesopotamia. Understand? In these schools, once part of the Alexandria empires, Alexander's empire. Now Greek philosophy, mathematics, and medicines were taught along with other subjects. Along with the other subject, Greek, mathematics, and the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphs. Umayyad, particularly Umayyads and Abbasid caliphs commissioned the translation of the Greek and the Syrian books. They now got translated. Abbasid and Umayyad rulers, you know very well about them. We have gone through already that. The Abbasid and Umayyads, they have got translated of the translation of Greek or Syriac books into the Arabic by the Christian scholars. They got the help from the Christian scholars for getting translation of the translation of Greek and Syriac books into the Arabic language. Understand? So now we can see that how the Arabic culture, okay, got influenced by the Greek culture or the Syriac culture. Understand? They were, although they had been made their domination over that, but the conquered culture dominated over the conquerors culture. We can see that, and this was a process of the assimilation, process of the intellectual assimilation, interaction. Understand? Between the two cultures, we can see that, and moreover became the well organized activities or this activities of the translation, particularly large scale translation of the different language and the different cultures had been made during the rule of and during the period of Al Man Ma Al Mamun. Al Mamun under his period became the well organized activities, and this was the translation. Now doing the and the translating translation of the different books into the different language became one of the noteworthy activities under the Al Mamun. Understand? Who supported the library come institute of science. Now this man Al Mamun supported the establishment of a library, and as well as institute of science he established, or that is called as the Beit al Hikmah. Beth al Hikmah, a scientific institute, used to be called as the Beth al Hikmah, or in the Baghdad where the scholars work. Understand? In the Baghdad, Al Mamun established a scientific institute, Beth al Hikmah. Understand? For the growth of the science, for the growth of the reasoning. Understand? Scientific study. He was inclined. The works, and on the other hand, the great there was also impact of the great scholars like the Aristotle, Socrates, and the Aristotle. First, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Understand? These were the great Greek scholars. Understand? And their thoughts, their thoughts had a very deep impact upon the Arabs. Understand? So now the books or works of the Aristotle, the great scholar, and the element of the Euclid. Understand? Elements of Euclid and Ptolemy's work named the Almagest were brought to the attention of Arabic reading scholars, and the Arabic reading scholars now they studied the Euclid's elements of the Euclids, and as well as Almagest of the Ptolemy, understand? Or their study or India, and moreover, they also got translated the many of the Indian books and the Indian writings, like the upon the astronomy. Indian astronomical studies were, and the books were translated into the Arabic language. Understand? And moreover, mathematics, Indian medicine were also translated into the Arabic during the same period. Okay, the Indian medicinal books, Indian mathematical books, understand, or Indian astronomical books got translated into the Arabic language. Okay, so we can see that how the these Arabs people, Arab conquerors, understand, they were interested in the Greek culture, Greek art and science and knowledge, and as well as the knowledge they were acquiring from the East and from the India, from the Indian scholars and the Indian text. Understand? So now we can see that how the assimilation and the or amalgamation of the different cultures were happening. Intellectual interactions were going on in the whole of the Arabs. Understand? So now, students, we can see that how they were became the very broader knowledge were being exchanged between the two civilizations, the two religious or two or three or four religious sects were interacts now interaction doing the interaction in the all scientific knowledge or religious knowledge. Moreover, these works reached the Europe, and now then after these works reached to the Europe and kindled the interest in philosophy and science. And from these works, understand, Arabian works and which were and the Indian works which had been translated into the Arabic language, understand, it then after passed to the European continent. Understand? वहाँ यूरोप में गया, It was the past on European continent, and where the Europeans, after the going through this, they began to take the interest in the philosophical knowledge or as well as the scientific knowledge. Understand? So now students we can, and before the advent of the Renaissance, understand, and we see that how in 14th to the 17th century in the Europe a Renaissance happened, a revival of the new culture, a revival of the old culture, and the revival of the new knowledge, new scientific tempers arose. But I think that these revival of the Europe happened from this knowledge. The Europeans had their own knowledge, although there were the certain reasoning and the science were existed in the Greek knowledge they had. But apart from that, the Europeans learned from the India and from the Arabs, and through the Arabs became the main chain. The Indians science and the philosophy now went to the Europe, and still the Europeans now revived this knowledge in a modern science and called them, and now they became the dominant in the modern science. And I suppose that their modern science is from India. Understand, their modern science had been taken from India, taken from the Arabs. Arabs have taken from India, or India, or from the Arab, the Europeans taken this. And then after their revivals movement, their Renaissance occurred because of that. Okay, so that's the matter of the study, students, that we should compare that with how this knowledge now transmitted to the Europe. Our knowledge through the Arabs and then after there. Okay, so now here somebody and all the scientists, most of the scientists of the Europe say that what they have a great knowledge of the science hidden in our Indian scriptures, in our Indians writings. The first of all to go for this to get down for discovery and the invention of anything, the scientists must have to be the go through the Indian text. Understand? Now the Indian text, a huge knowledge, enormous knowledge is hidden in Indian text. Ancient Indian text, full of the knowledge. Our culture has been a very rich culture in the world. Understand? So let's see. If you are the being at the history of a student of history, further you have to be the study about the Indians old scriptures and Indian old books. Understand, or the old text. Further, here we are studying that the study of the new subjects promoted critical inquiry. Now, one thing is that with the study of the new subjects like the mathematics, understand, astronomy, and medicine, these all new subject, no doubt, new subject promoted a critical inquiry. These new subjects now promoted a critical inquiry. Inquiry means that what is the critical? How can we get at the truth? पहले सबसे पहले all of first of all we should think that how can one get at the truth? कैसे हम truth के पास जा सकते हैं? कैसे we can achieve the truth and the facts? By the criticizing, by a critical approach, or by the analytical approach, through the and compare the things, analyze critically, understand, analyze the critically, or inquire the anything critically, then ultimately this critical views and approach can achieve your truth and your facts. So we must have to be the keep or you must have to be the having the critical or analytical eyes to study anything, or we should have so these new elements promoted subjects promoted the critical inquiry, means the not accepting anything blindly, anything recklessly. No, we must have to be the don't believe and recklessly just adopt anything. No, we must have to be the question. Why? How? When? Where? Why? How this happened? How? Why? Understand? And this is the critical approach. And now, ultimately, inquiring and had a profound influence of Islamic intellectual life. So, the new subject, new study from the Greek, from the India, and from the Greek cultures, Syrian cultures. Now a new these Islamic scholars found a new eyes, a new ideas, a new element that is called as the critical eyes, critical angle. They now develop in their study, and these critical angles now based on the reasoning and science, based on the inquiry and the reasoning and to get at the facts, to get at the reality. Understand? So now, students, now the scholars say these Arabic scholars and the theologians bent of mind, such as group knows as some of the scholars. Understand? They inculcated a new thinking, a new approach of the new approach and new thoughts. They used to call as the mutajil. They were known as mutajila, known as such as the groups group known as the mutajila, mutajila, mutajila. Understand? And this group used to Greek logic and what these Arabic scholars understand to develop a new bent, a new theological bent of mind, and they called as a mutajila. Why? Why they called like that? They used in their study the Greek logic, argument in study, and the methods of reasoning, kalam, kalam. Understand? Method of reasoning or argument and the logic to defend the Islamic beliefs. And now they have started through their logic, through their reasoning power, reasonable thought. They begin to what? They begin to question and the Islamic beliefs, the method of the reasoning, now to defend the Islamic beliefs. They develop a to defend the Islamic thought. Understand? Islamic beliefs as defending the Islamic thought or Islam by developing a new way of the argument, new way of the logic, new way of new methods, new method of the reasoning. Through that, they began to they started the protecting the Islam, defending the Islam whenever they had a discussion with the others. Understand? So now we can see that how a new in the old Islamic or the reckless Islamic thoughts, a new argument came into the got into in this. Moreover, uh, phila- philosopher, philosophers called as the philosopher, posed a wider question and provided fresh answer. These philosophers posed wider a lots of question about the Quranic injunction, about the Quran, about the Sarah and the Sharia, and about the this universe, on existence of the human being. A lot of questions they raised, these philosophers, and wider question and provided the fresh answers. And now they provided as well as the fresh answers of that questions. Understand? So in this way, a thoughtful and intellectual environment created in the Islamic land, neo-Islamic land. The intellectual versus and the intellectual environment was created, and the answer or one of the a great kranti we can say, a great revolutions that happened and the brought by the Ibn Sina, a very miracle and a very scholar of the Islamic land, or a doctor by a profession, Ibn Sina. Understand, he brought about a intellectual revolution, we can say, an intellectual revolution in the history of the Islam, or in the science of the Islam, in the intellectual world of the Islam. What the and now this doctor, he was a doctor and as well as a philosopher. He did not believe in the resurrections of the body on the day of judgment. Now he never believed. He argued that that's on the day of judgment, the body on the resurrection of the body on the day of judgment. He did not believe in that, and we know that the day of judgment is the one of the elements of the Islamic thoughts, Islamic beliefs, but he condemned and he did not completely he rejected the Islamic thoughts, which was the on the day of the judgment, was the completely he condemns that, and this was the mate with a strong, although the theologians now they started, they criticized him. His views was widely, and his views was broadly criticized by the Islamic theologians, those who were the conservative and having the orthodox feelings. Understand, orthodox feelings. They now posed a strong opposition of these. His medical writings were widely read. Now he was a now Ibn Sina was a professor, by professor. He was a doctor. Understand? All his writings were broadly read, and now, moreover, most influential was the Al Kanun Al Kanun fil Tib, canon of medicines. Understand, theory of medicine, canon of medicine. He wrote. This was the very much or much preferred and read by the millions of the people in the, or a million words manuscript. This is the manuscript. Understand, or it's had the million words. Million of words had been the written down himself, and that list of the 760, at least the 760 drugs sold by the pharmacist, understand, of his day, and includes notes on his own experiments conducted in the hospitals, Bimari or Bimaristan, in the hospitals, understand, or the thousands of the experiments now he done, or he did, understand, thousands of experiments in the hospitals, and he had mentioned the 760 drugs, understand, to be the used and practiced. And moreover, the canon points out in his canon, means the medical theory and the medical writings, out of importance the dietetics, which is the healing through the dietary regulation. Today in modern times, now we try to reduce our fatness and mutapa, understand, by the dietary healings, understand. So he devised the dietetics, understand, it is as a science, as a medical science, understand, and that is the today we are the for our fatness, we are reducing the fatness, understand, we are using this dietary healings of the many diseases. And moreover, the influence of the climatic, and now he said that on the body, that is the natural influenza or a viral or like that, much impact upon us, much impact of this environment or climate had the much impact on human body, and that climate or environment also creates a lots of trouble, our health trouble to us, understand. So about that, this man had written, this doctor had written, climate and environment on the health and contagious nature of some diseases. About that, a contagious nature of some diseases, Understand? So now we don't we should not talk about the disease. We are the suffering now. I have just one of that a virus had now locked us. Understand? Had the imprisoned us in our houses. Okay, so then we can see that environment and a contagious nature of the some disease he had written. This doctor, and canon was used as a textbook in Europe, and this canon, I understand, was used in the Europe by the Europeans. Began to be the study this vast canons or his theories about the medical science. Understand? Began to be the read out in the Europe, where the author was known as a Avicenna, and he was known in the Europe as Avicenna. Just before his death, after the death, or before his death, now the scientist and the poet Umar Khayyam, very great poem Umar Khayyam, understand, was said to be the reading this canon. It is said that he had studied this canon, or his gold toothpick. He had the toothpick was found between the two pages. Understand? Between the two pages of the chapter on the metaphysics. Understand? On the chapter metaphysics, he had the done in the work in the, or the great Umar Khayyam, who had also gone through his canons of the Ibn Sina. Understand? So the Ibn Sina was a great, and Umar Khayyam both were the great figure in the history of the Arabs. Understand? Students, now in the history of Arabs. So, look, okay, students. So this is the today for today. Further, we shall continue our study one by one, very well mannered. Understand, or very explain or read. You must read whatever I teach. Na, you go through at the your home before or after. Both it's your method of the study, but you must keep on that. Thank you very much.